Hi, my name's Ed Greenwood. I'm the publisher and president of the Ed Greenwood Group. Welcome to another installment of This Week at TEGG. This week at TEGG, a lot of TEGG people went to Ad Astra, the Toronto area's annual science fiction and fantasy convention. There were TEGG panels, there were a lot of TEGG people floating around, and I got the chance to talk to two TEGG creatives, Arlene Arcs and Suzanne Church. Have a look. Hi, I'm Ed Greenwood of the Ed Greenwood Group, and I'm here at Ad Astra, the annual Toronto area science fiction fantasy convention. Oh, I think it's the 35th or something like this. You know, it's been going a long time. And I'm here with TEGG author Suzanne Church.
Hey, everybody.
And Suzanne has already published a Hellmaw novel with us called Soul Larcenist.
Soul Larcenist.
First of a trilogy. Soul Poison's next sometime.
Yes.
And these novels are, well, there's lots of horrible stuff in them, and there are lots of demons in them, and there are lots of Toronto police in them because they take place in Toronto. Tell me about why you picked Toronto. I mean, all of us in Toronto are used to Toronto standing in for New York or Chicago or whatever movie the Americans needed to be this, whatever city they needed to be this time. Why did you want to celebrate Toronto?
Well, I think it's because I was born and raised here in Toronto, and I have a friend who works in the Toronto Police Service, and I wanted to give that police service a chance to really shine, because we've seen lots of police stories that take place in New York and police stories that take place in cities like Miami or Las Vegas, but this was my chance to really show the Toronto police in a new light. And I thought the Hellmaw setting was the perfect opportunity to do that. Plus, there's so many different nooks and crannies in Toronto that people might not know about, the subway yards, the cemeteries. There's a lot of heritage in Toronto that you don't see on the standard CN Tower shot that is on television. So.
Yes, we have other brutalist architecture in Toronto besides the CN Tower. Toronto Police Headquarters, for instance.
Exactly, right on College Street in the heart of downtown. It's a gorgeous building with a great atrium, the perfect location to have lots of fun things happen.
So, tell me about fun things that might happen in Soul Poison.
Fun things that might happen. So, I can't say much about Soul Poison, but we're going to see all three characters again. Vedex is still up to his demon nature, and Huckrism and Windsor Kane are still chasing him because it's their ultimate goal to catch him and bring him to justice. So, there's a lot of aftermath. I won't spoil what happens in Soul Larcenist, but if you read it, you know about some of the really cool things that happen. And of course, they're dealing with the aftermath of that in Soul Poison and trying to make things work.
Me, you see, as a guy who took journalism years and years and years and years ago in Toronto, I always think, okay, what are the police dossiers and records of all this going to be like? What are they writing? You know, the people around them. You know, because Puck is. What's his status right now? You know,
yeah,
what is his superior thing?
Puck's in trouble.
Yeah.
Puck, a lot of bad things have happened to Huckrism, and he's got to try to make that work. And Windsor, rather than being the victim, is stepping up to be a little bit more of the leader in the second book. And I used a couple of places that I really love in Soul Poison. One of my favorite cemeteries that's right downtown in the northeast corner of downtown is in the book. And there's also a great scene that takes place in Regent Park, which is not the nicest neighborhood in Toronto, and you get a real feel for what goes on in Regent Park in that scene as well. So if you're a fan of Toronto, you're going to love the books. Lots of things take place all over the city. It's snowing, and it's dark, and it's dreary, and it's that classic Canadian winter where it's dark more than it's light, and yeah.
That's really fun, because I found in my first Hellmaw book, I started in Mount Pleasant Cemetery right at the beginning, And I also visited a particular cemetery in the northeast part of the downtown in the second Hellmaw book.
But I don't use Mount Pleasant, it's a different cemetery. It's always fun to have these locations because they really are part of the Toronto flavor. And when you've lived there, you kind of drive past them a lot, or you travel past them on the subway, and you think about them, but you don't really think about them. Kind of like when you're going over the Bloor Viaduct and you're looking down on the valley, you get this glimpse of what's down there, but you don't really think about it until you've actually maybe ridden through it on your bike or gone for a hike down there. There are lots of little pockets of Toronto that are not what you think.
Yeah, I mean, if you live near a ravine, then you're used to the ravines as parks. If you live in certain other areas of Toronto, a flat reservoir or a cemetery is the only open green space.
Exactly.
So that's what you're used to.
Exactly.
Yeah, they do have story uses. We should investigate more in future books. I'm waiting for, like, you know, the army clash of undead and demons and poor Toronto police caught in the middle of it. That'll probably happen about the 15th or 20th Hellmaw novel when somebody gets there.
And at one point, they actually end up on a little trip along the highway and into kind of the... it's still part of southwestern Ontario, but it's not exactly Toronto, so you get a little bit of a flavor of what it's like on, you know, in the country outskirts as well.
Oh my gosh!
And, you know, people do live, because, you know, a lot of people think that people in Ontario think the only city that matters is Toronto, of course, and that nothing else exists. So you do get a bit of a sense that there are other places in Ontario as well that are just as interesting, but not maybe quite as metropolitan.
Yes, the classic Hollywood view. Toronto ends, cottages start, cottages end, polar bears.
Exactly. And anyone who knows me and follows me on Twitter knows that I'm a huge Toronto Maple Leafs fan, and I was very saddened when they closed Maple Leaf Gardens. So, of course, there's also a couple of segments in the book where they are in the grocery store that is now in the building that used to be Maple Leaf Gardens, and there's a little bit of sort of Toronto Maple Leaf nostalgia going on there as well. So that's my chance to put a little bit of hockey without putting hockey into the book. So it's just a little flavor that those of you who know me know that that's what I love. Yeah. Hockey
in Hellmaw. That's something we've got to work on.
Yeah,
for the future.
Maybe the next arc.
Maybe the next one, yes. Well, thanks. This has been great.
It's been fun.
Yeah. And that's it from this little segment at Ad Astra. We'll be doing some other TEGG stuff because TEGG never ends. And I'm here at Ad Astra, Toronto's science fiction and fantasy annual convention. And I'm here with TEGG member Arlene Arcs. And Arlene recently wrote an article in Onder magazine on characters. What is it that really grabs you about character when you're telling a story?
I think what people look for in characters is pieces of themselves. We look for our mirror image in a potential mate. We look not only for things that complement our own personalities, but we also look for similarities, for things that we have in common with them. And it goes the same for a reader encountering a character in a story. If there's a character you want the reader to root for, there better be something relatable in that character so that the reader has a point of connection and can relate to the character.
And do you want that character to be good company, or can they be like the creepy axe murderer underneath that we discover?
Well, it depends how much background information you provide. If you, that creepy axe murderer may have a very good reason for picking up that weapon. You may want the reader to feel even sympathetic for the axe murderer, depending on the kind of story you're writing. And so if you want sympathy from the reader, then you have to provide the reader with understanding, in which case you're going to let that character reveal facets of his personality to the reader as the story goes on. Otherwise, you make that character a shadow, something flat and two-dimensional, a menace that no one can put a finger on or no one can identify. And then there's no way to relate to that character, and so that leaves room for the reader to establish a connection with your main character, the one that you want the reader to be rooting for.
Well, yes, I get it, yeah. Have you ever done a story in which you think afterwards, if I just changed the characters, that would have been better? Or is each one work as you're doing it?
Well, I am a pantser, not a plotter.
Right, okay. No, I meant when you were in it, is there everyone where you get to the end of it, you look back and said, you know, would that have worked better with? Do you ever do that? Or you just say, no, that's done? It's a new journey next time?
There have been stories that I have wanted to retell from the other point of view.
Mm.
But there wasn't time.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to move on to another project. But, I'm sure, if you're familiar with Durrell's 4 quartets,
Mm-hmm.
that's one story told from 4
Mm-hmm.
different viewpoints. And I think every story can be told from multiple viewpoints,
Mm-hmm.
including the villains.
Yes, including the villains. I had to do it. You see, yeah, no, I get it. Okay, well, thank you very much. This has been great fun.
Yeah,
Ed Greenwood and Arlene Arcs at Ad Astra 2017. Thank you. So, this week at TEGG, in Stormtalons, one of our best-selling titles is Gregory A. Wilson's Grayshade. It's the first novel in his planned trilogy. Now, in Grayshade, well, for 10 years, the assassin, Grayshade, has eliminated threats to the Order of Argoth, the lust god. The acolytes of Argoth are silent and lethal enforcers of the Order's will within the sprawling city of Corel, whose own officials must quietly bow to the Order's authority while publicly distancing themselves from its actions. Grayshade is the supreme executor of the Order's edicts, its best trained and most highly respected agent. But when a mission doesn't go as planned, Grayshade starts to question the authority and motives of his superiors, and as he investigates, he soon finds himself the target of the very Order he once served without question. Now, it will take all of Grayshade's skill, intuition, and cunning to find the answers he seeks, if he can stay alive. In the description below this video, there'll be a link to Grayshade if you're interested. Soon, we will be following the path Grayshade himself took on his adventures, on a special map procured just for Nornar mining shareholders. So, be sure to go to stormtalons.theedgreenwoodgroup.com and request your free share certificate. Yes, you can get your free Nornar mining certificate. Yes, we have them for you. Enjoy. Onder Radio at TEGG this week. Onder Radio's episode 12, airing May 11th. Lyric Goins brings you information on Chet Faliszek, the live-action TV show Titans, and the launch of TOR LABS in this latest episode of Onder Radio. Tune in to catch the interview with David Steffen and Dave Robison discussing self-publishing. Hear Lyric talk about the top 5 best non-DC Marvel superheroes, and listen as she rambles on about the continuity between comics and their film and television adaptations. There's a link to this below. And, what the heck, I'll just read it for you. http://index.php/category/media/onder-radio-podcast/ which is why we just give it to you below in the description. You don't want to hear all that. Although, you know, I read it very prettily. So, out and about in this week at TEGG. from May 18th to 21st, Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America, SFWA for short, are holding their annual SFWA Nebula Conference. This is the convention at which they give out the Nebula Awards. This year it's in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And TEGG member Brandon Creeley, author of Wizard Sitting, a short story set in Stormtalons, and one of the people who's helming TEGG games, is attending. You can find out more about this at http://nebulas.sfwa.org/nebula-conference/. So this is the annual get-together of members of the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America, the professional association of SF and fantasy storytellers. And at this gathering, they give out the Nebula Awards. The Nebulas are the choices of SFWA members, many of the greatest living wordsmiths, of the best novel, novella, short story, and so on, that is science fiction or fantasy. I'm a lifetime active member of SFWA and really wish I could attend more of these conferences. It is the place to see, hear, and meet star power in our fields. So, if you have the time, if you have the money, I would head on down to I think it's the Marriott in Pittsburgh, one of the Marriotts in Pittsburgh, don't quote me on that, but all the details are at that link, and attend the SFWA Nebula Conference. Also in Out and About at TEGG this week, TEGG member Richard Lee Byers will be at Oasis from May 19th through 21st. Richard Lee Byers is the author of The Ghost in the Stone, a Stormtalons novel, and The Fishing Hole, a Hellmaw short story. He'll be a guest at the 29th Annual Orlando Area Science Fiction Society Convention celebrating SF and fantasy. Oasis. And being as it's in Orlando, of course, there's a tour on the Thursday. It's a day out of the Universal Studios theme park. See more at http://oasfis.org/oasis/. Yes, that's oasfis.org/oasis/. And that's it for Out and About at TEGG this week. We at TEGG love to give things away. We do it a lot. This week's giveaway, yes, and there is one, yes, for the first 100 customers this week who purchase a digital copy of Gregory A. Wilson's novel Grayshade may also pick up a free copy of the launch novel for Stormtalons, Words of Unbinding, by me, Ed Greenwood, yes, by Gregory Wilson's book, Get Mine Free. The coupon code for this week is MAYGRAY, capital M, A-Y, capital G-R-A-Y, all run together as one word, MAYGRAY. I hope you enjoy reading them both. And that was this week at TEGG. Hope you enjoyed it. Tune in next week to find out what else new is happening with this wonderful collective of creative folks. Thank you. See you then.